Hey everyone, welcome to the MindMajix YouTube channel. Now, in this session, we will learn one of the most important functions of Excel, which are the lookup functions. So in this particular session, we will learn about the XLOOKUP function in Excel. Imagine you manage a bank loan database and you need to find out an email address of a customer. The routine address is to manually checking each and every row provided the data is comparatively small. Given a situation where you have thousands and lakhs of rows, instantly you'll feel the data piling up and stress getting under your skin. Instead of manually searching through hundreds of rows and columns, what if there was a quick fix and foolproof trick that fixes your problem in mere seconds? That's where the Excel lookup functions come into the picture. Lookup functions make it effortless. With a simple formula, you can instantly retrieve matching data from large volumes of data. Whether it's tracking inventory, pulling out customer details, or linking financial records, lookup functions save time and eliminate errors, making data retrieval seamless. In this session, we will learn about XLOOKUP function in Excel, and further in the lineup, we will learn the other remaining ones as well. That said, if these are the type of videos you'd like to watch, then hit that like and subscribe buttons and the bell icon to get notified whenever we host. Now, without further delay, let's get started with XLOOKUP in Excel. Now let's quickly go through the definition. What exactly is XLOOKUP in Excel? The XLOOKUP function in Excel searches for a value in a table or a range by rows and returns a value from the same row in another column, regardless of which side the written column is on, making it a versatile replacement for HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. Now you might be wondering that we already have VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Why did we need XLOOKUP, right? So the data retrieval part, you just wanted to match your ID of the primary key and pull out the exact match and then the adjacent data to it, and your job was done, right? Same was the scenario with HLOOKUP as well. Since we already have two lookups, why did we opt for a third type of lookup? That's the question. Now, to understand this in a much better way, let's go through a practical understanding. So, as discussed in the example, we have this loan data set over here, right? So we have the customer name, we have the customer ID and email address and everything. Now, if ever our lookup value is customer ID and we were fetching the email address, it is a left to right operation, correct? So this can be performed well in VLOOKUP. But what if we had loan ID and we wanted to find out the email address, which happens to be a right to left operation, correct? So this is a right to left operation which will not be functioned or which will not yield in a result if we were using VLOOKUP, because the VLOOKUP performs the operations only in left to right, not right to left. In our case, we have the loan ID and we are fetching the data which is in the left column, the email address, right? This kind of right to left operations will not be performed in VLOOKUP. What it performs is the left to right approach, where we will have the customer ID and we are trying to look for the email address or the phone number. In the scenario, this works well in VLOOKUP, right? So all the time whenever you wanted to perform this right to left operation, you might have, you had to send this loan ID column all the way from right to left and then try to perform the match operation. So for this kind of small Excel dataset with 10,000 rows, it would have been doable. What if you had about 100,000 or thousands of rows? This is really impossible task. The system will hang in real time. And maybe that data is shared with a lot of people and it could be messy for them as well, right? So to avoid such kind of an ambiguity, XLOOKUP came into picture. And there's another reason as well. Even in HLOOKUP, you might be wondering if we can go with HLOOKUP. Will HLOOKUP work in this place? No. HLOOKUP as well works in an approach where it searches for the data in a top to bottom way, right? So it works in top to bottom way, but will not work in the opposite way. It will not work from bottom to up way. This will be confusing or it will not even function right? So this is the problem with HLOOKUP as well as VLOOKUP. So in the VLOOKUP, it will perform only from left to right operations. In HLOOKUP, it will only operate in the form of top to bottom approach. And apart from these two issues, there is another issue in these two lookup functions. Let's say this particular customer Christy Carter. He made a transaction with the bank. He took a loan 5 years back and he repaid it. And now he's ready for a new loan. And now I came up with a question. Let's imagine that I'm the manager and you are the manager's reportee, right? I ask you a question, which is the most recent loan taken up by Christy Carter, right? There are two loans. One is the old one and the other is a new one. If you were to use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, it will give you the first result, right? So it will work from left to right and top to bottom, which will absolutely yield in the first result. So it will give you the details of the previous loan. It will not give you the recent details, right? When you use XLOOKUP and provide an extra parameter, so far we have understood that VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP have 4 parameters, but the XLOOKUP will come up with a 5th parameter where you can dedicatedly provide a single parameter to this formula to help you find out the least or the latest entry of that particular customer, right? So I think you'll understand much better when we go with a practical demonstration. So there you go. Here we have certain entries: customer ID, email, phone number, loan ID, and the income what they're getting. Now, based on the customer ID, I want to fetch all these details. Now, in the previous approach, you had to provide either V or XLOOKUP. You had to provide the lookup value, which is this table array, where you had to select the entire array. And you might even get confused sometimes. Let's say I wanted to find out the email address, right? So I select 1 and 2 arrays or the columns. So I provide you the email address and I refer to the index number 2. But what if a new column is entered between the customer ID as well as the email, right? Then that might be a little difficult. Now, in the VLOOKUP formula, if you provide the index value as 2, then it will consider the new entry, the new column in place of email ID, which is in between customer ID and repeat, which is in between the customer ID and email address. Now your formula will fail. So to avoid such ambiguity, we came up with XLOOKUP, where you provide the lookup value, comma, your value, the primary value which is entered, right? This is the lookup. This is the column where you look up for the lookup value, the customer ID, and you are looking for an email address. Just mention the email address here, right? The email address column. So whenever you introduce a new column in between these two, the index requirement vanishes away and you will never fail. And the third parameter is absolutely the same, the match mode. And here you don't have to specifically mention the match mode. It is obvious. It will take match mode as default as false. It will give you an exact match. And the last will be the search mode. I'll explain you about it. So far so good. You can straight away close the function. And as soon as you close the function, you have the email address. Now let's proceed with finding out the phone number in the same way. XLOOKUP, press tab to select. This is your lookup value, comma, the lookup array, which is the customer ID, and the resultant array is the phone number. Just select the phone number column and provide the last match, or the last, or it's not last but 1 actually. So the match mode is 0. By default, it will choose the exact match, but in case if you want, you can provide that as well. Now close the function and enter. You have the phone number. Now the loan ID, and we know that each and every new loan has its own unique loan ID, right? Even if one single person takes multiple loans, if you wanted to find out their first ever loan, or if you wanted to find out their latest loan, then you can proceed with that particular data just by using the 5th parameter, right? Let me execute that. So XLOOKUP, and this is your lookup value, comma, and this will be your first column, comma, their loan ID, which is here. And now as usual, you can provide the match mode as 0. And here is your last parameter, which is about first to last search, last to first search, binary search, and you can also go with ascending order or descending order. Let's say without XLOOKUP or without repeat. Let's say without XLOOKUP, if you wanted to find out this particular data, then you had to manually sort the data according to the dates, which is from, if you wanted to find out with ascending, then you might have to sort the data from ascending order, beginning with the least number to the highest number. Let's say you wanted to find out the latest data, then you had to sort the data manually from the latest entry to the first entry, right? This could have been another task, and again, you're playing with the host data, right, on which many other people or your colleagues are dependent on, right? So to avoid this ambiguity, you can proceed with such approach where you can just, provide the parameter and you'll have the data unharming the original data set. And income, which is the last value that we need to find out, let us consider this as a small homework for you. Let's try to find out the income per annum, and you can leave the answer in the comment section below for our reference. And with that, we have come to an end of this session on XLOOKUP in Excel. If you have any queries regarding any of the topics covered in this session, or if you require the resources that we used in this session, like the dataset or the code syntax or the PowerPoint presentation, then please feel free to let us know in the comment section below, and our team of experts will be happy to assist you at the earliest. Until next time, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more from MindMajix.